When it comes to curating a list of the best beat-em-ups of all time, it's tough not to throw Batman Returns into the mix, especially during the genre's height across the arcade scene. An early release for the Super NES that aesthetically could pass as an arcade game at the time. This is no surprise either, developed by a certain company touted for their long list of legacy titles at this time. They just had this way about bringing licensed franchises to life, and with a rich cast of characters that reside in the darkest parts of Gotham, recreating a similar world to bust a few heads would probably be best fit for the powerful new Super NES. Now, the DC universe has had quite the roller coaster ride when it comes to their cinematic universe. Their movies, for better or worse, often get overly criticized, to the point those critiquing them should be nominated for a performance themselves. I typically commend them for diving in headfirst, opposed to consistently playing things safe. Hell, I couldn't tell you the last time I was excited for an MCU flick. However, nipple suits and all, the cinematic universe of Batman has been a fun one, and Batman Returns is right up there as one of my favorites. Maybe it's the Burton magic that's got me feeling this way, or the fact that I was a big Danny DeVito fan as a youngster. I grew up watching Taxi on Nick at Night, which starred both Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd, so I had some great movies ahead of me. I just knew from my initial impressions, this was the movie for me, so I could only imagine how it might unfold in 16-bit form. However, we're talking the Super NES, right? Home to the best home ports of Sunset Riders and Turtles in Time. Yet when on the subject of Batman Returns, you never really hear too many stories about its 8-bit counterpart. But perhaps this is due to the aesthetics of the Super NES. It's like looking at old photos of Arnie side by side with Palumbo at the Olympia and realizing no amount of conditioning can overcome the shape his body of work was, simply unmatched. Hey, this is coming from a fan of the Mass Monsters, so I'll admit, bigger isn't always better. However, when comparing an 8-bit release to a 16, there's a reason the underdog was fighting alongside the king to begin with, and chances are, they had something unique about them that triumphed over all else. Hey, no shots fired, I'm still riding with my NES till the day I die, which is why I'll be the first to say, looks aren't everything. The 8-bit release of Batman Returns has some wheels on it, let me tell you. In a nutshell, there's plenty of room to speculate the fate of 8-bit Batman Returns, but I think that only makes it far more appealing. And to be fair, both Return of the Joker and Batman Returns made their NES debut prior to their 16-bit counterparts. I know, Revenge of the Joker is essentially a remake, but I still believe this warrants a closer analysis here. And since the original Sunsoft titles were based off the original motion picture, I figure it'd only be fitting to follow suit and look at its direct sequel. A sequel that was now in the hands of the opposition, a company that I consider hands down the GOAT when it comes to the NES, and as much as Capcom is home to my favorite franchise, there's not much Konami couldn't do on the home or arcade front, so I felt confident seeing this come from them. However, where the original Sunsoft Batman and its sequel were platformers, Konami went the beat-em-up route. So with that in mind, this may very well be the sleeper 8-bit Batman title we never knew we needed. Our story opens just in time for the holiday season, a celebration of festivities across a city which has slowly rediscovered its fighting spirit after the rise and fall of the Joker, a mob boss the likes of which Gotham had never seen before. His defeat left a lasting impact on the city, inspiring those who now hide in the deepest depths below, waiting for an opportunity to rise to power. And although Gotham would face a spike of bad impersonators, in this aftermath, that didn't stop the city from showing some holiday cheer, putting on a laser light show in Gotham Plaza to keep the citizens in high spirits. It's here we are introduced to Max Schreck, a highly regarded socialite whom owns a well-established department store in downtown Gotham. Many citizens like himself gathered to the event to witness the Ice Princess kick off the festivities, performing the annual tree lighting ceremony in the middle of the plaza. As quickly as she is able to launch the event, so do the surprises, one in particular that is tightly wrapped on wheels, rolling on in front and center for an unsettling reveal. A spring-loaded assortment of killer circus acts that would set their sights on the good people of Gotham. The Red Triangle Gang, once touted for their electrifying theatrics across the traveling circus which entertained the masses of Gotham, they recently had gone radio silent only to re-emerge as an underground crime syndicate that utilizes the underground outlets of Gotham to conduct their business, Now tied to the recent disappearances of the city's youth, they appear to be manipulated behind the scenes by a larger hierarchy of powers to be, looking to pursue their own plans to tear a once prosperous city from the inside out, now currently on the loose to terrorize those in attendance of tonight's events. As the night ushered in this cold and calculated assault, a forecast would reveal a glimmer of hope now shining across the night sky, a symbol of justice that would illuminate through the clouds. The wings of the bat, one which moves in shadows to silence the horrors that plagues this night, one now riddled in mystery that would be told by Gotham's very own Dark Knight. Now, as we set foot back on these mean streets of Gotham, one thing was made blatantly apparent. 8-bit Batman Returns out the box looks and feels every bit the way an 8-bit Konami beat-em-up would, only it hits harder in all the familiar places. The moment Act 1 rolls out, it screams NES Turtles 2, giving you the Ringling Brothers rendition of Fall of the Foot Clan. Something about the way they move just yells Foot Soldier, and as you trek across the icy cold pavement, you'll be serving up some pizza power to the wicked Red Triangle gang. You're essentially the honorary 5th Turtle, or maybe it's just Donnie going undercover again as the Dark Turtle. Whatever the case here, you got a few new tricks up your sleeves, with the most apparent addition being that sweet slide kick. It's executed flawlessly, too flawlessly if I do say so myself, making it near game-breaking. Seriously, there's just no way around this maneuver, and your speed is unmatched when connecting with that steel boot. Whoever's on the receiving end is packing it up. The slide grants you superior recovery time, making for one hell of an offensive maneuver, cutting the legs right out from beneath those creepy stilt walkers. Pair that with your flashy new dive kick, and you've got a killer 1-2 combination that will make any pairing of these stone cold killers have a complete meltdown. Batman must have linked up with old Ra's al Ghul at some point, because he's crafted an all-new maneuver to add to his repertoire. This version of the Bat uses a well-balanced offense to stand his ground. During combat, you'll utilize an all-new guard feature to shield yourself from the sheer brutality of these attacks. You may need to sink some time into mastering it, like those epic parries in Third Strike that can throw any impulsive player off their game. Perhaps with enough practice, I can have old Bruce here put on an epic performance for the ages, especially when pairing these new moves with a new spin attack, a supercharged right hand that would make Iron Mike proud. The icing on this move list, which is near perfect to finish off your opponent, or get you out of a pinch when the numbers game adds up. A momentum-based knockout blow that puts these circus acts completely on ice. Stay humble though, the devastating effects of this maneuver puts a severe strain on the user, resulting in a unit of health lost with each gruesome fatality performed. A well-rounded offense requires a well-balanced diet. This adventure includes a new menu of fresh options to start out your day, or should I say your nightly routine. I wouldn't say they're quite on par with the Sunsoft variety, but as far as beat-em-ups go, you got a couple selections to go with. Your classic Batarang makes a return, now bundled in care packages of 4 when searched out, allowing you to pick off those hard-to-reach foes that thrive off that big game hunt. When you do take a hit, you have a couple ways to recover your health. They require a bit of detective work to search out, just as you will the many crime scenes you uncover while on the case. Heart containers that come in 2 sizes to replenish a percentage of your life bar, or bat bar, depending how out of control we want to take this review. I can already see the keyboard warriors now, just hammering away on the keys. There's also life containers that adds an extra bar of health to allow you to power through the night. I like to call them first aid kits, but you can essentially store up 2 reserves. And fun fact, if you rack up enough additional points, you can get 1 on the house for a kick-ass performance. There's a few other goods along the way, but they're stage specific, so we'll tackle them in due time as we continue our march through downtown Gotham. As you reach the center of our Gothic Times Square, you won't have too much time to soak in the holiday cheer as the world's strongest man makes a grand entrance, looking for a volunteer from the audience for his latest stage routine. This dude looks like the love child of Karnov in a Bobo, putting me right into my Double Dragon feels right from the start, hurling one of those massive hazmat containers our way to get things popping off. He comes out the gate ready to swing on a bitch, so you can easily get put on your ass if you don't pull your punches early. The best offense I found was, well, no offense at all, letting him close the gap just enough to get him riled up again. Once he takes the bait, simply slide out of range just far enough to get your licks in, dropping his boom boom flailing ass like a sack of potatoes. As the winter night sets in, so does the mischief, so take to Shrek's department store to warm up momentarily as you gather some intel on this new evil emerging across Gotham. It's here you realize the fine attention to detail layered throughout this package, and you get creative exploring your new surroundings with your grappling hook, turning this building inside out as you climb your way across this overrun shopping mall. Each scene manages to capture the spirit of our hero's return to Gotham, whether it be through tiny cutscenes layered within, or the sheer complexity of each act, now layered with unique obstacles, forcing you to get creative with your ascent as you scale the many floors of this building. Something that is a true strong suit for Konami, managing to incorporate action-adventure elements into a traditional beat-em-up, which in my opinion, gives this outing an additional layer of depth, capturing the dark and gritty gothic setting of the Burton films, with creative play mechanics, bringing the many cinematic set pieces of the motion picture to life, finding you scaling each floor until you reach the rooftops high above the city where you eventually run into Catwoman. Since it's optional, I'll tell you right now, I didn't use the test tube to nerf her health. I wanted a good clean fight between these two, because their relationship has been a little rocky as of late, so I figured Batsy would want to take some time here and figure out if he's really feeling this chick. She's fast on her feet, damn fast, able to claw her way through your defenses to offset your offense, evading your attempts to bring her to her senses with a wide range of footwork, cartwheeling along to keep you guessing if she loves or loathes you. Many of her attack patterns are straightforward and repetitive, so she's pretty susceptible to your jump kicks. She will eventually switch up her offense midway through, busting out that long leash to lock old Batsy down for good. Well, he doesn't appear too eager to settle down just yet, staying out in front of this lion tamer long enough to trip her up. You can manage to evade the tip of the whip with enough mental planning, as the two of you will soon look to part ways for the betterment of this city. I mean, these two aren't going to coexist under these conditions anyway. If only we got that Burton trilogy we all wanted, maybe things would have panned out differently between these two. For now, this single bachelor has got to move on to bigger and better things. As we learn, the man that lived deep within the Gotham sewers, now identified as the Penguin, has found a way to rise to power. In a twist of events, he's aligned himself with the now corrupt Max Shrek, so we need to find a way to let the city in on their plans to control the good people. The Penguin's forces appear to have multiplied as he looks to place a stranglehold on this city. So you need to go full Dick Tracy mode here, keeping a keen eye to the street and learning the ins and outs of these back alleyways, because you're essentially walking along an endless loop until you find the right entry point to bust this case open. It's like playing through Bart's Nightmare and stumbling upon those homework papers, only to discover there's a whole new world hidden beneath you. So again, don't rush things here. Pay attention to the open windows across the city that can be accessed with your grappling hook, exploring these areas top to bottom, leaving no stone unturned till you get the scoop on the plans unfolding behind the scenes, as this two-man power trip rolls out behind closed doors. As you continue to explore these buildings, you find new evidence buried behind the scenes, revealing there's more players and pawns in play here, as the Ice Princess gets abducted right before your very eyes. It's these tiny storytelling bits that makes this presentation the total package. An 8-bit storyboard, rolled out bit by bit, further touched upon through iconic destination points as you continue battling the Red Triangle Gang across the city rooftops, pitting you against physics to stay alive across these slippery slopes. Each stage has distinct enemy encounters, further fleshing out the many performances across Batman Returns. However, unlike those nasty AI tools of deception used today, a simple voice recording will do to uncover the truth here, as the evidence piled up has infiltrated the Penguin's latest broadcast, revealing his ill intent as he's quickly pelted with more tomatoes than the average DC movie review. It's here your efforts are truly rewarded, taking to the Batmobile on a high-speed chase to track down the remainder of this traveling circus. Remember when I mentioned we will come back to our power-ups? Well, peep what we have here. Tiny bat discs that act like miniature heat seekers to pick off the many thrill seekers pedaling across the freeway on their motorbikes. It's quite hard to really lose here, unless you crash into anything and everything, letting the casualties cling on to you for dear life. Once you've tracked down the main cargo fleet, you can save the locals locked inside, interrogating the many prime performers that makes this a gauntlet leading up to the main maestro behind the scenes. The organ player always gave off a bit of those Mad Hatter vibes. He can be problematic out the gate if you don't stick close to him. Finding enough distance will allow him to pump some heavy rounds out, hidden away inside the organ itself. Be warned, he can cross you up with a mix of firepower, so he's the real deal, but one act in particular that needs to come to a close sooner than later to survive the night. As the Penguin's forces ramp up, so do the signals of his whereabouts, so continue to battle through his loyal subjects while you seek out his latest terror device. As you find the corresponding building giving off the appropriate radio signals, oncoming performers sneak into frame by any means necessary, and the numbers here can get quite overwhelming as they stampede through these hallways. As you reach the summit, the Penguin makes his grand debut, riding on in with his damn rubber ducky, and he makes this encounter so much fun. The challenge here comes by getting this rubber tanker's movements down. He rolls back and forth at random, looking for the accidental trip up. If you're not steamrolled over and sent packing underneath this big rig, then you'll get picked off by those teardrop projectiles. I eventually found myself planted as far back as possible, letting this golden goose come to me and kicking the living shit out of it each time it strolled on by. If you can keep from getting trampled over here, you will bring this crackbox down a couple notches, leaving old Danny D to flee the scene, looking to settle the score another day. With the Penguin on the run, take to the bat ski, hitting the sewers below in style, flying through the underground raceways, filled with essential health and weapon upgrades to prepare you for the final encounter. A fun segment that's essentially a glorified bonus round, and a much needed one at that. Once you're fully equipped, take to the Penguin's chilly Arctic wonderland, a final destination that must be journeyed across to reach this rotten bastard. It's a final act that puts your training to the test, so run it back one last time and stick to your guns here, putting this tired routine to the wayside as you masterfully put on an exhibition, leaving just you and Danny Boy face to face for a final encounter. As the temperature drops, so will the Penguin, taking to the sky above as he circles about, hovering throughout the night sky to drop down some highly explosive synchronized attacks to stir things up here. Go to your bag of tricks once more to bring this short stack back to earth. As he tumbles down below, get those licks in when you can, as he looks to quickly retaliate with a few rounds from his fully loaded semi-automatic umbrella. Well, if he wants to play keep away, do just that, clapping back with a few of those sweet dive kicks we've mastered over the course of each act, placing the Penguin back in checkmate as he waddles back and forth, looking dazed and confused. As the battle comes to a climax, the Penguin begins to feel the anguish and pain suffered from the cold hard truth, as taking the bat to his limits would result in his own demise, dropping down into the murky waters below as he would leave this world very much the way he came in, empty and alone. A very hard reality to swallow for a character with an origin story such as the Penguin. It's a masterpiece in storytelling, which is why the portrayal of DeVito's Penguin is so brilliant. A timeless performance for the ages. Batman Returns does a fantastic job capturing that classic arcade beat-em-up magic many of us NES diehards often clamored for. Although it's not remembered fondly like its Super NES counterpart, it does a fantastic job delivering another dose of 8-bit arcade action on the NES only the likes of Konami could deliver. It's nostalgic in presentation, delivering these killer chiptune arrangements and sound effects which made you fall in love with our tiny toasters to begin with, a showcase marking how far the console had come by '93, still pushing the hardware in creative new ways to bring these iconic movie scenes to life. In many ways, it suffered the same fate many classic beat-em-ups did on the system, simply plagued with sprite limitations that hindered variation down the stretch, making longer stretches feel far more repetitive the further you ventured forward. Many of us who grew up with the NES understood these shortcomings were simply baked into the experience, Yet in this particular instance, you had plenty of fun extras that sped up the pacing, tracking down the Red Triangle Gang through a handful of killer transitions, giving you memorable moments throughout that offered unique play features to enhance this experience. This always felt like an evolution of the formula, a sweet spot that scratched that beat 'em up itch, along with an 8-bit one. Although we didn't get the Sunsoft movie sequel we deserved, I think in the long run, having the third and final NES Batman title be a Konami beat 'em up sort of brought things full circle. Each installment gave players a unique take on the Batman formula. Each provided unique play mechanics and challenges to overcome, and most importantly, each brought us closer together as fans of the Bat himself, sharing stories across the community, offering up our own unique critiques through our own personal experiences. Yet, as this trilogy across the NES came to a close, the legacy of these titles would live on through generations of Batman games. My allegiance will always lie with the Sunsoft Bat, but there's no denying the greatness that was soon to come. A defining period across the DC universe that also just so happens to be an animated one, and easily the definitive Batman experience. One that would be told from two sides of one coin, two consoles to be precise. The only question I ask you all here and now is which one is the greatest one, as we now journey back to the 4th generation of home consoles with the one and only Batman the Animated Series.